Okay, at this time, we're going to reconvene the meeting of December 15th, 2014. We have some future leaders here. There are Boy Scouts that are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. You guys will lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clower.
Here.
Councilmember Friend.
Present.
Mayor Velasquez.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
And Councilmember Luna.
Present.
City Manager Rivera.
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan.
Here.
Chief of Police Westrick.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council of the City of Hollister regular meeting of December 15th was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on December 10th at 3:20 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to present our new council member, Mr. Clower, with the oath of office. You can walk on down there.
I, Carson Clower, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you very much. City Attorney, do you have something to report out?
Yes, this evaluation of the city manager was continued from the last meeting to this to seek the input from the incoming council people and to brief them on the process. The ad hoc committee, which is the mayor and council or vice mayor Friend, will be taking all of the information and coming together with a report to give to Billy and to report on that to the council.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have a few recognitions. Our first is a employee that's been with us since 1986, a person that has given so much to our community, meant so much to our city. Let me come down there.
Was that 1986 or 1886?
It says here 1886.
Yeah, good.
Clay's been
Colonel Hollis.
Clay's been a very important part of our city. Clay, on behalf of the city, council members, we want to present you with this plaque for all you've done for our city.
You gonna say something? Oh, you want me to? Not really.
First time he's ever wanted me to say something.
30 years.
But I just would like to, first of all, wish the new council members good luck in your roles. It's been a wonderful journey. First of all, I'd like to thank my immediate family, My wife is here this evening of 33 years, and it seems like just yesterday that we were considering taking this job. We had 2 young children, and at the time it was a question whether we should move to this community, but it was the right choice, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful time. And I also would like to thank my extended family, the City of Hollister employees that I've worked with over the years. They've been fabulous, and I think the council, those new council members will get to know them and understand the type of work they do and how they put themselves out there every day. And would just like to thank everybody for the recognition and the time spent with the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Clay. We also have the CHP here that's going to present a award to the Hollister Police Department. There they are.
We were hiding. Mr. Mayor and as fellow council members, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. My name is Reginald Chappelle. I'm the Coastal Division Chief for CHP, and Coastal Division covers the 7 counties on our central coast from San Benito and Santa Clara down to Ventura County. And with me tonight is Captain Spencer Boyce. He commands the office that's in Gilroy that covers Hollister-Gilroy area. Our purpose here tonight is to recognize the Hollister Police Department for 2 awards that they won in the California Law Enforcement Challenge. And the Law Enforcement Challenge started in 2003. It's a competition between law enforcement agencies that are similar in size to see who has the best traffic safety programs in California. And awards are given to the top 3 agencies in each category. And this program is modeled after the International Association of Chiefs of Police National Law Enforcement Challenge. And it focuses on speeding enforcement programs, impaired driving, occupant restraints, and then one other program that the local agency wants to submit as being unique or worthy of recognition. So in addition to showcasing your agency's talents, it gives them a chance to network with other agencies and good ideas for how to plan their traffic safety goals strategically. So this year, well, actually the last few years, if you remember, if you were here last year, I was here as well. It seems that Hollister keeps winning in their category, and so I get the pleasure of driving up from San Luis Obispo to give them their awards. They won in 2011 for agencies of 1 to 25 size officers, and they also won last year a 2nd place. So we have 2 awards for them tonight, and so this will be their 3rd and 4th awards over the last 4 years, and it's my honor to present them 2, and if I can have a little help. Thank you, Spencer. The first one is the Law Enforcement Challenge Award for agencies of 1 to 25 sworn officers. And again, they placed in the top 3 in their category. And we'd like to present that to the police department, Chief.
One second. Before we accept these awards tonight, there's a few people in this room that need to be recognized for their outstanding efforts in getting these awards. Behind me is one of our VIPs, Jack Kochi, and he is one of the people that's behind the scenes that really helps us gather this information and then ultimately presents and helps us write the actual documents that get us these awards. Also, in the back of the room, because he's hiding, Lieutenant Eric Olson, who is responsible for actually writing the grants and then administering the grants. So these 2 people are really important to our city, really important to our agency, and I would like the CHP actually to present the awards to them.
And the 2nd award we had was for motorcycle safety in the city of Hollister, and we're talking, of course, not the police motorcycles, but your civilians that drive your streets. And considering that you guys host the motorcycle rally annually, that's no small feat. So the 2nd award we have is for the motorcycle safety program for the city of Hollister.
Just real quick, I want to say thank you and accept these on behalf of the officers from the Hollister Police Department. If it wasn't for all their hard work, we wouldn't have anything to write about. So thanks to the Hollister PD.
And just one last thing, to ensure that our relationship with the CHP continues, I want to present Chief Chappelle with our 2014 challenge coin. This relationship is strong, and it's been very lucrative over the last several years. They're a great partner with us, and I want to say that I personally appreciate them very much.
Thank you very much. We also have recognition for the Gang Prevention Committee. Mr. Al DeVos.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. City Manager, and Chief of Police Westrick, and the crowd. I'm here as a representative of the Gang Prevention Policy Committee, and I'd just like to recognize our members, but also give you just a real quick overview of what the Gang Prevention Policy Committee is and what we do. I've been here for 5 years, and it was organized just a little bit longer than that. And it was a partnership between the city, the County Office of Ed, and also Hollister School District, all partners who realized if we want to do something about gangs in our community, we need to come together, and none of us can do it alone, we have to do it together. And so they formed the Gang Prevention Policy Committee Collaborative, and their responsibility is doing work on helping set policy across the county and the city that really makes sure that in our schools we're doing things to prevent violence and gangs and activity, the decisions are going on in city offices and county offices. We support prevention activities, intervention activities, so that the people that are involved in gangs that want to change, we try to give them those resources, and then also the suppression activities. So when people are involved in gangs, posing a risk to the public, we actually have supports that go out there and get them off the street. So we've been very successful in these last 5 years. We've brought in, as a small group, over almost, I should say, like $1.8 million to the region that has supported these prevention, intervention, and suppression efforts. And none of this could really be possible without our partnership with the city, but also without the city and our other partners having representatives that come to these monthly meetings, sit there, and we hash out the details and make our plans. So I guess I'm a meeting late to recognize everyone. But Mr. Mayor, would you mind coming down? Because I would say this year we've had, on our committee, we had council member, or ex-council member Pauline Valdivia was a member. We had Robert Scatini, who was a member, and then our alternate was the Mayor Ignacio Velasquez, who filled in once Robbie moved on. So thank you. I want to thank you for your efforts, and just ask that in the future we have some new council members, but it's important that we have people that are passionate on the committee and willing to come to meetings. So we've been very fortunate with that in the past, and we look forward to that in the future. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move forward with the consent agenda. Are there any items council would like to pull from the agenda?
Need to abstain from item A7.
Okay. Are there any speaker cards or anything from the audience? No? Okay.
I move that we approve the agenda items 1 through 8.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. 5-0 vote. No business. Item B. Item C, public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking any action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Marty Richmond?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Marty Richmond from Hollister. I can't believe we have a new council already, and you've only been at it a few days, and you've already given everybody Christmas Day off. I wanted to take this opportunity, since you're not going to meet again before the holiday's over, to say happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I know that's not politically correct to everybody. Happy holidays. Have a happy new year. And I did want to take this opportunity to thank your staff, specifically your staff, people on your staff. They've been helpful to me all year long. I drive them crazy with my requests for public records. I often call them for backup data concerning what's on the agenda, what's in the agenda packet. I talk to them about what I think we ought to do, and I criticize their haircuts, and I have all kinds of things to say. And I've always, I never get stiffed by anybody on the city staff, ever. They always give me the information I ask for. They always explain what it means. They've been very helpful. That's gone on for this year. I hope it'll continue in the future. I believe it will. And I wanted to take this opportunity to publicly thank the staff for all the support they've given me as just an ordinary citizen who has their telephone number. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Marvin Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I just want to give a street department a attaboy. With all the rain we had last week, they had been out the previous week with their machine picking up leaves. But when I grew up in western Kentucky, we'd have a summer, it'd get cool, all the trees change colors, then they'd drop their leaves. By the middle of October, it had first frost and everything was done. Came out here, it seems like the sycamores drop leaves all summer long, getting in the gutter. And then we get a little cool weather, and one of the tulip trees will drop theirs. And get a little another cool spell, and another species will drop theirs. And the city has done very good coming around, cleaning up those leaves. And then we had that rain last week, which was a mess. And they were out there, we had flooded areas, they were out there getting it cleaned up, and I think they just did a yeoman's job, and just wanted to recognize them. With this season, I'll do Marty a little one better with political incorrectness. Hanukkah begins tomorrow evening. May your candles burn for 8 days. In another week or so, may you have a Merry Christmas. And I think the next day you can have a joyous Kwanzaa. So.
Thank you very much. No other speakers? Okay. Well, folks, we are honored tonight to have our Assembly member, Luis Alejo, here to give us an update on what he's doing over there in Sacramento. Mr. Alejo?
Thank you. Good evening, council members and Mayor Velasquez. Good to be here again just to do a brief legislative briefing of what we accomplished this year. And I've been doing this every year since I came into the state legislature 4 years ago. And it's a good way for me to come before the community and just let you know some of the highlights of what we accomplished this year. Please forgive my vision. I just had a major eye surgery last Monday, so my left eye is kind of not in the best of condition. But I was wanting to do this, I think, back in October, and I was running a little bit late. Wasn't able to do it then, but thank you for the time that you've given me to present a little about what we accomplished in Sacramento. And we got a PowerPoint just to demonstrate some of the graphs we have for the public and for yourselves. But first of all, this is my 4th year now. I'm going into my last 2-year term in the State Assembly, where I've been proud to serve as the chairman of the Assembly Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee, where I make recommendations on all legislation having to do with issues like clean water, pesticides, green chemistry, toxics issues that are, I think, critical for California. But I also serve on the Assembly Labor Committee, the Local Government Committee, and the Judiciary Committee. Is there a clicker somewhere? Otherwise, I can get some. Yeah, okay, you can help me. All right, okay, we can just go through them. Went out. We get it going right now in just a bit. But I'm also proud that On December 1st, when I was sworn into office, I was also elected as chairman of the California Latino Legislative Caucus, representing 18 assembly members and 4 senators, and that's for my last 2 years in the legislature. We also want to make an announcement. I have one of my staffers here, Daniel Dodge, who covers San Benito County for me. We passed out some our flyers for our annual There Ought to Be a Law contest, because that's our way to engage everyday, hardworking citizens of the 30th Assembly District to submit ideas for legislation as we go back to Sacramento to start the new session on January 5th. And we always carry at least one bill that was submitted by a citizen of my district of one way that we can improve California's laws for business, our families, education, health, law. And just last October, we had one of our bills submitted by Dory Rosinda of Watsonville, submitted a law, an idea for legislation to expedite certain types of hearings for injured workers in their workers' comp hearings, and the governor fortunately signed that into law. So if you guys submit those, we'll be taking those up, I think, till the end of January as well. I'll continue as the PowerPoint, hopefully we'll get started here soon. But this year, I think it's good news that I'm able to come back and report on some of the good things happening in Sacramento. 4 years ago, when I first came to do this before you, we were facing a major deficit in the state of California. We were having to make $26 billion in cuts, and I served on the Assembly Budget Committee those first 2 years, so it was very difficult. But here we are 4 years later, thanks to the voters who passed Prop 30. We have a projected surplus for at least the next 5 years. We're reinvesting money back into education. We're not overspending. We even instituted a rainy day fund through Proposition 2. So we could go to the next slide. Proposition 2, we're paying down our debt. We have a balanced budget, and we have a projected budget surplus. But 2 years ago, in 2013, I sent 11 bills to the governor. 100% of those bills got signed. It won me the #1 ranking as most effective assembly member out of 80 for getting all my bills, 2 of them being landmark pieces of legislation. This past year, I sent 12 new bills to the governor. 11 got signed. Only 1 got vetoed, and I will talk about that 1 bill next year. But that means 22 out of 20 of my 23 bills in the last 2-year legislative session got signed into law by Governor Brown. But I am proud that we are paying down our debt, because that is helping improve our credit rating for the state of California. We're not overspending more than what we have. We're saving up, paying down our debts, and the little that we are spending, it's in the most critical areas that are important to California's families. We're also leading on the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. In 1 year, we went from having 22% uninsured in California. We're down to 11%. We've minimized that in half, but we still have a lot more work to do. And this was important because healthcare coverage is the #1 issue why people were filing bankruptcy at the federal district court here in San Jose. But we also invested in our public schools. This year, we invested $5.6 billion more in our K-12 schools from the previous year, and that's our commitment to make sure our children get a quality education. Next slide, please. And on top of that, there was a big crisis here at our important, beautiful courthouse a couple blocks away. But with the new courthouse and the new technology, it required new security, additional security offers from our sheriff's office. And as you all know, our sheriff's office doesn't have enough officers to patrol a very large rural county. So to have to pull perhaps sheriff deputies to provide the needed court security would have been, I think, a detriment to public safety in San Benito County. So our court CAO, Gil Solorio, our presiding judge, and our sheriff, we worked together to appeal to the Judicial Council of California, including the Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court. And we worked to work with our budget staff to get over $400,000 more that were needed for the additional bailiffs. And I know this is important. I used to work as a staff attorney for the Monterey County Superior Court. Court security is critical, especially when you're dealing with domestic violence cases, child custody cases, and of course in criminal court when people being transported from the jail to the courthouse, you need to have top security. Otherwise, it hurts public safety. But we were very successful to get in the budget trailer bill that funding. It was 2 counties that were similarly situated, small rural counties who had new courthouses that were coming online but lacked the additional court security. But we were successful in getting that for San Benito County. and we were proud to do the opening just last October, and many of you were there. Next slide. I'm also proud to report that this year we implemented another important piece of legislation for our graduating high school students. This is what we call the middle class scholarship that's going to be phased in over 4 years. But when it's fully phased in, families that have a total income of $100,000 or less will save up to 40% in their tuition cost at a CSU campus or at a University of California campus. So if they're going to attend UC Berkeley or UC Santa Cruz, for instance, a family would save $5,000 per year. Over 4 years, that's a $20,000 savings. At CSU Monterey Bay or San Jose State, it would be $2,200 per year, almost $9,000 over 4 years for a local family here in Hollister. And that was, for me, that's an example of our commitment. Many of us who benefited from going to public universities and to make sure that we're keeping college affordable for our students who have done everything that we've asked them to do. Do well in school, stay out of trouble, go to college, and we're trying to provide relief to them. I want to talk about two issues, the water bond and another important legislation that's going to effect in 2 weeks. But first of all, the water bond, thank you to the residents of San Benito County who supported Proposition 1, because thank God for the rain that we've had recently, but this year was a hard-hitting year in terms of the drought for California. These orange groves were ones just outside of the hometown of my wife, who just finished her year as mayor of Watsonville. She's from Porterville. But these were, a year ago, were lush orange groves full of oranges. Sometimes they're tangerines or lemons, but now they're going dry because of a lack of groundwater in farms. So in total, California has over 400,000 acres of prime agricultural land that are going fallow or look like this because of a lack of water in these areas. And that hurts California's economy and jobs. So I give this slide to show the people at home where California was in only this year alone. The first graph is California, and most of it is in that orange-red color. That is the second worst drought category, extreme drought, and you can see it covers most of the state, including our area. But only 10 months later in October, most of California covered in the most extreme category, exceptional drought, in only 10 months. And had it not been for this rain and the snowpack that is falling in the Sierras right now, California would be in a worse situation in decades, generations, if we didn't have that recent rain. The recent rain is still not enough, but it certainly helps and goes a long way. We're hoping to keep having water fall on California. But I wanted to talk to you. The water bond, I think, is a shining example of bipartisanship in Sacramento. Republicans and Democrats worked together to hash out disagreements. In 2009, it was very controversial. There was a lot of disagreement. We worked together to reach a 78-0 vote in the State Assembly in support of the water bond. So $2.7 billion will go to fund the two largest water storage projects in California. One is going to be at Sites Dam in Colusa County. The second in Temperance Flats, just outside of Fresno. Why does that matter to San Benito County? San Benito County is part of the grid that distributes water throughout the Central Valley, but some of that goes from San Luis Reservoir into San Benito County. So this project will help the overall grid, but it has a benefit because it's a source of water for San Benito County. On top of that, there's regional pots of money. Our region is called the Central Coast Integrated Regional Water Management Plan, or IRWIMP. We were going to get, I lobbied hard. The night before the vote was going to take place, the governor's office called me. Because of the work I had done, they included $15 million more for the Central Coast for $43 million in that pot for us. But these other categories I listed for the public to see, there's other pots of money that will help San Benito County. Through the Coastal Conservancy, there's $80 million for safe and clean drinking water for communities that have contaminated drinking water, like San Lucas in South Monterey County. $520 million, water recycling, almost $1 billion, $900,000 for groundwater sustainability, flood management, $395 million, $1.5 billion for ecosystems and watershed protection, and regional water reliability, $810 million. So these is pots of money that in the future, once the grants are open, local counties could compete for them. But one of the main requirements that is not often talked about, even though we passed a water bond, counties have to be what is called CASGEM compliant. CASGEM is the water, groundwater elevation monitoring data that is submitted to the state. Many counties are non-compliant, including Monterey County right now. We're trying to get them compliant. We have to make sure San Benito is also compliant, because as soon as those monies become available, if you're CASGEM compliant and you have projects in the pipeline or shovel-ready, you'll be able to draw down these competitive funds to local communities. I only put this picture up because this was some of the economically disadvantaged communities that were being hurt by the lack of water. This is in Mendota, where there were long food lines in 2009, because when farmers don't have water to grow crops, farm workers don't have jobs, and then those farm worker families have no money to spend at local grocery stores, at local retail stores, at local restaurants, and then you have long food lines, and the entire community suffers for a lack of water. So this was a march they had, working with a lot of farms and agriculture from Mendota to the San Luis Reservoir, to highlight how the lack of water was impacting everyday hardworking families in our state. In addition to that, I had some legislation that will also provide money for, this was for the Salinas Valley, but we also work with the California Farm Bureau, so that farms that have ponds, that it streamlines permitting, so they can use the water in those ponds for multiple uses on their farms. We have to utilize every source of water, and this was one that was important. It was a priority bill for the Farm Bureau. I authored it, and I got that signed into law. Next big issue I just want to talk about to end was the implementation of Assembly Bill 60. This was my landmark bill that made national headlines in 2013, that in, I think, 18 days from now, will allow undocumented immigrants to obtain a driver's license in the state of California. It doesn't give them a driver's license, it gives them only the opportunity to earn it, just like everyone else. You have to take the written test, the driving test, and have auto insurance. But I have these photos here to show you the turnout of some of the town halls I've had. I know local LULAC had a town hall just in this room, but this was the one I organized in Salinas on September 4th. Hundreds of people turned out. Next slide. This is the one I had in Watsonville, packed as well. And the third one was the one I just had last Thursday. Even though there was a storm falling down and it was raining extremely hard, all the Greenfields Civic Hall was full of people trying to get information of what they needed to do in order to be prepared to obtain a driver's license. So there's a lot of hardworking families that work in agriculture and a lot of other industries in our area that are excited about the opportunity to earn a driver's license. So this, like I said, this goes in effect in 18 days, and it's good for our local leaders and our local community to know about it. The doors will open at the DMV starting January 2nd, but I'm proud that this legislation was also bipartisan. It was the first ever Republican co-author was my good colleague, Senator Canella, who we worked together, and we also got some additional Republican votes to make it a true bipartisan bill. The first ever Republican co-author was Senator Canella, and it never happened in the 20 years that that bill had been pushed in Sacramento. But I also reached out to the California police chiefs, and I earned the first ever endorsement by law enforcement for this legislation. But also all the ag associations, from the Western growers to the Farm Bureau, were all in support of it, the labor unions and immigrant rights groups, and we got that signed into law. But this is expected to help over 2 million undocumented immigrants in the state of California from all walks of life, all parts of the world, as long as they meet all the traditional requirements, taking the written test. And it's important because there's 36 questions on the written test. And if you take the test in a language other than English, you have to take 18 additional ones. And they're all on, the 18 additional questions are on the signs, the traffic signs, and that is because many of the signs are in English. They want people who are taking the test in Spanish or in another language to at least understand what those signs mean, so they have to take the 18 additional questions. They have to come back for a second appointment and take the driving test to prove that they can operate a motor vehicle. And lastly, and very important, they have to have auto insurance, so that if there's an accident, everyone is covered. And that's going to make our roads safer for everyone. But in addition to that, they have to provide documents that they are indeed California residents. The cost will only be $33. There was a lot of debate whether it would cost more, but we made a commitment to keep it as affordable as possible. But we did appropriate $65 million to implement the bill. The DMV has hired almost 1,000 new workers, and they've opened 4 regional offices to process the flood of applications that they expect to come in. Our closest one is in San Jose, and it just opened 2 weeks ago. So I wanted to show this image because this shows you what's on the license. In 2005, Congress passed what is called the Federal Rural ID Act that requires that if states are going to provide these types of licenses and California is now the 10th state to do this, but since that federal statute was enacted, it said you have to have distinguishable features on the front of the license. When we passed this bill, we were only going to change one letter next to where the driver's license number is at. There's these two letters to the left that say DL. We're going to change one letter, but Department of Homeland Security said that's not enough. So we renegotiated with the governor's office, the DMV, and the Department of Homeland Security. We came with a compromise that does put out these three letters on the side that say, on the upper right-hand side that say federal limits apply. Basically, the limitation on this license is they cannot use it to board an airplane or enter federally secure buildings. And that's to comply with federal law. But, go to the next slide. But we did add some additional protections because immigrant communities were concerned whether they were going to be discriminated. And again, all this was worked with all the business groups, ag associations. We all reached agreement on all these issues, including the law enforcement. So we included provisions in the law that said you cannot discriminate against anyone with this type of license. And then I also passed a clarifying law this past year that said all the information submitted to the Department of Motor Vehicles is completely confidential. It can't be shared with any outside agencies. And then I passed an additional bill with Assemblymember Dickinson from Sacramento, AB 852. Basically says it's illegal to charge somebody to fill out an application because you knew those were going to be those notarios or scofflaw attorneys that were going to try to take advantage of our immigrant families. But overall, we think this is going to make our roads safer. Families are going to be able to go to work, take their kids to school, go to church, go to the grocery store without fear that they could be pulled over and their car taken away and impounded for 30 days for not having something so basic as a driver's license. But I always like to add that it's also going to be a huge economic benefit because now over 2 million people who live in California are going to be able to buy auto insurance. They're going to be able to buy vehicles. And a local bank manager told me that they also have loans available, lines of credit available, but the number one requirement is you have to have a license in order to get that auto loan. So now you're going to have so many people having lines of credit, and that's going to be a boost to California's economy. So lastly, just to end, I just wanted to let people know there's a lot of questions. How do I make an appointment? And just so for constituents that you may have or people working at local businesses or your neighbors or friends, this is how you make an appointment. They can make them already now as of the mid-November. You can make your appointment, either go visit the local DMV office and make your appointment. You could call the 1-800 number. But the quickest way, just going online, if somebody just Googles AB60 or AB60 with DMV, the first link there would be the DMV's website, and it says make an appointment. You just click on there, and that would allow you to make an appointment. Since they started making appointments now, over 300,000 appointments have been made utilizing the website. So some of these appointments are already getting booked till March, depending on the DMV office. So I would encourage people, if you know people who could apply, we're encouraging them to study, number one, because Nevada, under Republican governor, passed the same law earlier this year, and 90% of those who were going in to take the exam on the first try were failing. So California could do better, but that's why we're trying to encourage people to study, know the requirements, get your documents together, so when this law goes into effect, hopefully as many local families could apply and benefit as possible. With that, I'm done with this presentation. I want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer, and then I'll go home.
Thank you very much, Assembly Member. Are there any questions from council? Councilmember Luna?
Yes, just a concern, Assemblymember Alejo. You mentioned the fact that there's going to be people, notaries that are going to be enticing people to go there so that they can fill out those forms. I believe that's already happening in Hollister, and that would be a major concern. So what happens? Do we report these people? Do people get reported, or what's this next step?
We would definitely like to work on that, and that's an issue I've been working with the DMV, the state bar as well, and we've been working closely with the CHP office and also local police departments and the Attorney General's office, who recently also sent out a press release warning communities about people who are trying to take advantage. And there might be even more legislation just to clarify other areas, because we've been hearing now people are saying, come pay me $20 and I'll make your appointment for you. And I saw that somebody was doing that on Facebook just the other day. So we're looking at all these problems, but certainly we want to hear where it's happening so we could work with the appropriate agencies to try to find those people who are maybe exploiting our local families.
Thank you. And in speaking with DNB manager Ted through HEO, he said January, and almost all February is already booked in Hollister.
That's right.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gomez, have any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Assemblymember Alejo, for being here this evening and reporting out on these items that you've been working on. I appreciate this, obviously, as a son of immigrant farm workers, and so I appreciate your work on this. I appreciate your work on the water bond. I think that's huge. Having bipartisan support on both of those is good to hear. My question to you is, last year there was legislation proposed, and I believe it was signed by the governor regarding vehicle miles traveled to try to address the issues with gas taxes. Gas taxes have gone up slightly, obviously, because of the change in the economy, but no matter what, we're always going to have a problem with gas taxes with vehicles that are, obviously have better gas mileage, and they're more fuel efficient than obviously with electric vehicles that pretty much don't pay to be on the roads. So do you have an update on that bill, and if what you think of the pilot project, and if you're going to be able to overcome the privacy concerns? Because I know the ACLU has been very concerned about the reporting portion of vehicle miles traveled in replacement of state gas tax. Do you see that as a potential problem for California?
Yeah, well, it's certainly a debate we will have for sure this coming year. There's two issues going on. One is, as you said, with the electric vehicles, there's a disfairness issue, right? That while it's great and less carbon emissions, but those vehicles are utilizing the roads, and yet they're not contributing to a portion that gets paid to maintain our roads and highways. So they're trying to figure out, I think it was Senator Steinberg who was looking for a way to be able to include that, so everybody's contributing to our fund. And we all know that our roads and our highways are backlogged in terms of deferred maintenance. And that's why this coming year we're looking at a bond, a transportation bond, because Prop 1B that was approved by the voters in 2006 for maintaining our roads and highways, that money has dried up. This last fiscal year utilized the last part of that. And so I was working with a lot of stakeholders to look at whether we would put a bond up for fixing our roads and highways for on the 2016 ballot, but the governor wasn't as open to that. So we're looking for other ways that we might utilize to put money back into reinvesting our roads and highways. The other part of that is that there was a controversial cap and trade legislation that included looking at including traditional fuels. And there was some pushback on that because the industry warned that if that was phased in the next couple of years, it could result in a spike in gas prices. So the industry was asking for that to be deferred for a few years, take care of the other areas first, and bring that issue back at a later time. So that's going to be another point of contention as well, because that even though gas prices are thankfully are low now, it could result in a spike just by including that in the cap and trade regulations. So both those issues will be issues that have been worked on last year, didn't get accomplished, but we'll be working on those this coming legislative session. So certainly when you guys hear any of those, I'd be open to get your thoughts on those.
Do you know anybody? I attended a briefing in Senator Bell's office up in San Jose, and he talked about, obviously, with his involvement in transportation, but he also talked about a potential surcharge on electric vehicles. Do you see that as potential proposed legislation for the state? Has anybody considered that?
Yeah, I don't think that specific idea hasn't. They're looking at all different ideas that would come forward. The counterbalance to that, as I visited Tesla about 3 months ago, which are our electrical cars that are being made in California, you create incentives to encourage innovation and new technologies that are affordable. And Tesla's a prime example because they're coming out with their Model X, which is unlike their Model S, which is probably a $100,000 vehicle. Their Model X will be probably about less than $40,000, and trying to make electric vehicles more affordable. But at the same time, some of the incentives that have helped the industry grow are been federal and tax credits that have made the cost less for consumers, but that has resulted in the largest market for Tesla is California. They went from being a startup company that started out in New Mexico, they moved back to California, and now there's 6,000 jobs created at the NUMMI plant because of those different incentives. Unfortunately, their Giga plant was located at Nevada. We're hoping that when they do an extension to that, they might move that third site back to California. But at the same time, there were, when we met with those corporate leaders, they were saying the additional cost could also disencourage people from buying these new products that are coming on market. So it's a balance, a conversation of those different interests that we need to work through.
It's difficult. I think the downside from what we hear, especially when we have people complain about the conditions of local streets and roads, is, you know, the disproportionate amount of money that's coming from gas tax, and that being obviously the only source. When they see somebody driving a Tesla, obviously they're not driving a Tesla and driving into their affordable housing unit. They're driving a Tesla and going into their, you know, 4,000 square foot house. And for somebody that's making, you know, $150,000 a year to not pay to drive on the road, yet somebody that's working at McDonald's for minimum wage that's a problem.
Right.
So,
and
I know you understand that.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to work it, and we're going to have to find some solution to that.
Excellent.
'Cause you're
Thank you.
absolutely right.
That's what I appreciate it.
Okay, Councilmember Friend?
You mentioned that they've opened 4 new regional offices for the DMV and hired 1,000 people. Is that the only place that these new people can go to get their license?
Very good question. All residents could go to any local DMV office and set up an appointment, but only by appointment. So any local offices, you have to have your appointment in advance. You can't just walk in.
Okay,
The regional offices, why they're different is that they do them by appointment or by walk-in. So that San Jose office, if you don't have an appointment, you could go, get in line, and that same day be able to take your test without an appointment. That's the only different feature that's available at those regional offices.
So it seems like we've spent $100 million for these 4 regional offices and 1,000 new people and haven't changed anything. You still can't get an appointment in your local office.
Well, we're hoping that we will see what the result is after the law goes into effect to see how successful. The DMV, like I said, from what I've been told, they've hired up to 1,000 new staff. They've gone through additional training in preparation for this. The DMV has contingency plans where at some offices they might be able to stay open later. They might even be able to open on Saturdays, depending on the influx or a wave of people they have coming into the different offices.
And once these 2 million people receive their licenses, are those offices going to close and those 1,000 people going to go away?
They'll be based on the need of each year, right? The DMV expects in the first 3 years alone 1.4 million people to come in. If you can imagine, multiply it by 2, as the 2 minimum appointments are needed, you're talking about 2.8 million visits. What we're trying to avoid is what happened in the other states, where people are coming in and passing on the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, because now you're multiplying 1.4 million by 5 times, and you can imagine the numbers that are coming into the offices.
Well, I understand that. What I'm saying is, our local office, you can't get an appointment now until late February. For the reason that you opened the regional office to take care of this influx. What have we spent all that money for? You still don't have any better service, and those people can't get their license any quicker by opening 4 regional licenses. I don't understand why we spent all that. Well, I guess I do understand.
The law hasn't gone into effect yet. The DMV office haven't opened yet. So when the law goes into effect, we're able to see and be able to evaluate how effective the additional staff, the training, and the contingency plans are all working. And otherwise, we're talking about hypotheticals rather than letting the law go into effect and see how the offices are managing. But we do expect, especially the first few months, there will be some frustration because just the sheer large numbers of people who will be coming to the office to apply for these licenses, which for me demonstrate the need that was out there from a lot of your local constituents who were waiting for the moment that they could get a license. And I like to remind people that before January 1st of '94, that was the law in California for decades. Anybody, regardless of immigration status, could get a license. The law changed. It was a legislation authored by a San Jose senator, Senator Al Alquist, who authored a law that in '93 that said from January 1st of '94 forward, you must have a Social Security number in order to be eligible for a driver's license. That's when the law changed. But prior to that, for decades, anybody could obtain a driver's license regardless of their immigration status in our state.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, we spent, according to your records, $100 million.
65.
Setting up 4 regional offices and hiring 1,000 people, and it hasn't helped or changed anything. You still have people going to the local office to take their test, and now we're going to be 3 months auto dealers trying to get appointments and stuff are gonna be stuck 3 months out there because of the influx you've seen with this, and why did we spend $100 million? Why didn't we hire people for the
You will
local
see,
offices?
you will see, the numbers are there to be able to process the 1.4 million applications that are coming through,
And I'll
which
bet
goes effective in January.
1.1 million of those people will be processed in the local office, not the regional. How do people get to San Jose if they don't have a driver's license?
Yeah, well, from what I understand, the 1,000 is distributed through all the different DMV offices to hire additional staff for that very reason that you're expressing.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Clower, have any questions?
Not really a question, but I think it is probably a really good idea to study because it's going to save the state a lot of money if the people aren't taking the test 3, 4, 5 times. And it should allow everybody to shuffle through the line a little quicker. So definitely study.
And that's why we're asking everyone who attended all those workshops, we're saying the more people that are getting the word out and encouraging your family members and your constituents and your friends to do it, the better this is going to be. I think California could certainly do better than 90% failing, as we saw in our neighboring state. But the last thing I did want to mention, which I didn't have a slide, there's another important economic development legislation that I think would help Hollister in the future for job growth. This was a bill I've been working with the League of Cities for cities that are facing that are economically disadvantaged, cities with high unemployment, high poverty, high crime rates. We've been working on legislation to allow cities like Hollister, like Salinas, like Watsonville, be able to keep some local tax increment so that it doesn't get to Sacramento. You guys get to keep it here to invest in helping businesses grow that are already here or attract others to come to places like Hollister. When they eliminated redevelopment, that all went away. And it also eliminated the only source for affordable housing for local communities to build workforce housing. So now this year will be year 4 that I'm working on this. The good sign is that the governor, even though he vetoed it, messaged that with some technical changes to the legislation, we could get it done. But the criteria will match to only be able to use for communities just like Hollister, Salinas, and Watsonville that have been struggling to attract jobs and be able to have a source of affordable housing. So that's another highlight I think that we'll be able to accomplish next year. And the governor signaled to his staff that he's willing to sign that into law next year. So with that said, thank you very much.
Well, I have a question for you, and I need your help. You've done so much for us here locally, and we appreciate that. The state has implemented new requirement water quality standards, and here it's going to cost us probably around $5 million to meet those new standards, if not more. Can you help us and see if we can get some of those dollars here to meet some of those requirements? Would that be something you could help us with?
And the controversy was that as we passed the water bond was well vetted because there were numerous hearings held throughout the state. Our local closest one was held in Seaside for our region. But it got input of all the stakeholders about what they wanted to see in a future water bond. What are the local needs of each region in California? That went on from like February through August. The 3 groundwater legislations was strongly opposed by agriculture. A lot of concerns because we had been solely focused on the water bond, and then at the last 2 weeks, the groundwater legislation was put in there. I was one of the few Democrats that didn't support the groundwater legislation because they said we should find first of all, agriculture was willing to step up and deal with the groundwater crisis. For example, in the Central Valley, there's so much groundwater pumping that it's causing what is called subsidence. The ground is sinking. So you can't avoid the science. You have to find out solutions. Agriculture is willing to step up, but we need to find something that works for our local farms. And but nonetheless, I was in the minority. The legislation passed. It's going to be implemented next year. So now we're working with a lot of our agricultural leaders to find solutions, including technical issues like expedited adjudication of water rights. That's what I'm working with the California Farm Bureau on. But in terms of resources, a lot of communities say, we can do this. It's going to cost a lot of money, but you need to provide us the resources to do that. Some of that money will be available through the water bond, but before you could tap into the water bond, that other issue about being what's called CASGEM compliance, meaning the data is being sent to the state water board, that needs to happen before that could take place. So we need to work with the county to find out where we are at in terms of that CASGEM compliance, because then my job would be then to work with all of you to make sure we're drawing down the needed money to benefit San Benito County.
I will get a hold of you and we'll talk a bit more. Have a Merry Christmas and thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
out.
Thank you, everybody, for all your hard work. Appreciate it. Gracias.
Okay, we have no business on E. We're going to move to item F1, discussing the murals on the utility boxes.
Yeah, we have another presentation. Thank you, Mayor. The item that's before you is kind of twofold. One is authorizing the city to allow art to be placed on several utility boxes that are owned by the city of Hollister in the downtown area, and then also a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $4,000 to actually have the work performed. So just a brief background is we presented the same item to the City of Hollister's Planning Commission at their last regular meeting, and it was met with a huge round of applause and desire. So I'll go ahead and I'll let them give you the PowerPoint presentation. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to try to answer them, or they are here to answer them as well. So,
thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, fellow City Council members. My name is Roland Resendez. I'm a community member / graduate level student here in Hollister, California. I'm here with a team of people. Joel Esquera is a senior at the Visual and Public Arts program at CSUMB, and he'll be working as the lead artist on the project. Ms. Brittany Gomez is a senior, and she's working on her graphic designs bachelorette program. And then Mrs. Jennifer Lane is with the San Benito Arts Council. She's the Chief Executive Officer. She'll be up here shortly to address the council. Anyhow, I'm here to talk to you about a really exciting project. As he stated, we did go to the Planning Commission, and they were very much for it. They went ahead and approved it with a recommendation for the City Council to approve it as well. And it's called the 2014 Utility Box Pilot Project. Basically, the objective behind it is to reduce graffiti through beautification here in Hollister. I don't know if you've seen other cities where they're implementing these types of projects. They're basically painting murals on the utility boxes, and studies have shown that this type of visual public arts project helps to deter graffiti and crime and whatnot. It gives the city a sense of ownership, and people take pride in the city and the way it looks, and it deters graffiti and whatnot. So the history, obviously, is that there's graffiti not only here in Hollister, but in other cities. Mr. Esquera and I have looked at what other cities around the area are doing to deter graffiti, and I'm sure you've probably seen, I think I spoke to Mr. Gomez about this, San Jose, Gilroy, Santa Cruz, Capitola have all implemented these types of programs as well. And what it does is, like I said, it just basically, they're used to deter graffiti in the community. We've collaborated with the City of Hollister, San Benito Arts Council, Hollister Downtown Association, CSUMB, Fort Hays State University, Gavilan College, several community members, several local artists, and Art for Change, who's a well-known educator, local educator, and a well-known muralist here in town. Basically, we wanted to point out that the City of Hollister already has a budget allocated to them to preserve the utility boxes that we're going to talk about today. Mr. Clay Lee, who retired this evening, did agree to go ahead and continue to maintain the boxes, so you don't have to worry about the cost for that. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and invite Ms. Jennifer Lane up here so she can talk to you about the financial aspect of the project.
So good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to say a few words about this project. I'll try to keep it as short as I can. So I'm the executive director of the San Benito County Arts Council, and our role in the community is to promote the arts throughout the county. We're the state and local partner of the California Arts Council and have brought approximately $400,000 to the community in the last 4 years in service of the arts. So we're happy to partner with Joel and Roland on this project. Primarily, our role will be to serve as a liaison between the artists and the different stakeholders in the development of downtown Hollister, primarily the Hollister Downtown Association. So we did assemble a committee to review the design and aesthetic qualities of the murals, which you'll see some examples coming forward. And we've also agreed to serve as fiscal sponsor. We've done this, or we've worked in this capacity before for other artists or organizations that don't have their 501c3. We're able to accept, grants and reward monies for certain projects, and then take care of all the tax and legal obligations in reporting those funds for artist fees. So I think Roland will speak a little bit more here about the budget, but I will say it's fairly modest. It's very comparable to other projects we have done. The artist fee rate is also comparable to what we pay for artists in our Artists in the Schools program, for example. So I'm hoping that won't be too much of an issue for the council members. So in sum, I'd just like to say that we're very excited about this project. It's in line with our mission to promote the arts and primarily to focus on activities that promote creative placemaking in downtown Hollister. This project will not only beautify the downtown, but it also highlight the historical and cultural assets in our community, as well as engage and employ local artists. So all in all, it's a great project, and we really hope and appreciate your support. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So as far as the budget goes, it's a very modest budget, I think. We've been collaborating with the city of Gilroy and their police department. They've implemented the same program in 2011. It's a graffiti abatement program is the main purpose. We're doing the exact same thing as them. We're calling it a pilot project because we're asking the city to sponsor 5 boxes in the downtown area at a sum of $4,000, which is roughly, I think it's about $800 a piece. Most of the cost is going to supplies. We're not trying to make any money off of it, but we do want to have a couple paid professionals on board so that the work is pristine and it looks professional. It's a community-wide project. Anybody and everybody is more than welcome to participate in the process. In fact, we encourage that. That's what the Visual and Public Arts is all about. Yeah, like I said, we're working with the city of Gilroy, and this is the exact same budget they're doing. What we plan on doing after the fact for phase 2 of the project is to go to the additional 10 boxes and use these ones as model boxes and ask individual sponsors to go ahead and sponsor a box. And if they sponsor a box, just like Gilroy, we'll go ahead and give them recognition on the box. So I just want to point out that we've worked very hard to make sure that the designs on the boxes are very reflective of the Hollister's rich culture and the diversity here in town. The first one we have for you is a ballet folklorico / agricultural box. Agriculture is a big part here, and this is basically to represent agriculture in the Latino community here in Hollister. We want to place it over on Santa Ana and San Felipe. It's right next to the Quick Stop, and if you can see, they're all graffitied up, and they're just not very appealing, right? So this is a before picture, and after the artwork, this is what it would look like. Next, we wanted to work on a biker blessing box, and this is basically going to go in front of the vault. I don't know if you recognize Bob, our local pharmacist down here. He's a top hatter in town. We've got some patrons from the Hollister Biker Rally. We've got the biker prayer. We've got the Hollister city limits there. This is in front of the vault before, and here's what it would look like after. Next, we want to go ahead and promote the farmers market and people to buy fresh produce here in town. This box will go over on the corner of 3rd and San Benito. It's right next to the Bank of America, if you're familiar with where that's at. Here's what it looked like before. Again, it's all vandalized and tagged up. Here's what it would look like after. We wanted to go ahead and promote local produce. We've got the iconic Hollister Clock Tower. We've got actual images that were taken at Farmers Market. Next, we wanted to give, the rodeos, rich culture here and whatnot, so the westernized theme. This box here, it's got some hay bales included that are iconic of Hollister's culture and history here. It'll go over on South and San Benito, right next to the Country Rose. Again, the boxes are not very appealing beforehand. And this is what they look like, and this is what it would look like after. We've had the honor of working alongside Mr. Luis Valdez, and I don't know if you know or not, I'm sure you probably do. The film La Bamba was filmed here in Hollister. We've had to go and get permission from Sony Columbia Pictures. I'm not sure if you know or not, but Miss Elizabeth Pena, unfortunately, who played Rosie in the film, has since passed. We started this project, I think, about 6 months ago, before she passed away. We wanted to include like the rich, pristine hills, the apricots, them working, because we think that's very rich and representative. We also put Bob on the bicycle just to tie it in with the Hollister Biker Rally as well. So we've met with Mr. Valdez several times, and he really was happy to work with us on this project. So this will go right on 4th and San Benito. Here's what the box looks like before. Here's what it looks like after. Like I said, I had to get permission from Sony Columbia Pictures, and I had to get permission from all of the actors in order for us to use their images. And Lou Diamond Phillips, I just wanted to close with this, that he sent his love to community. He said, it's excellent, it looks great, give my love to the community. I had such great memories of shooting there. Lastly, I just want to recognize the City Council, because I know that some of you have worked on a project here recently, and just recognize your guys' work efforts to bring that here, bring back the arts, encourage the community to get back involved and take ownership in their community. Also, Mr. Chief Westrick, who's been a great partner of ours in helping us to collaborate as far as getting the graffiti abatement aspect of the project here and deter crime. And we're asking you to invest in $4,000, which is 5 boxes, and it's going to come back to you because we're going to help deter graffiti, we're going to help deter crime, we're working with probation, we're working with at-risk youth, we're working with local college students and whatnot, so it'll come back to you tenfold. Thank you. You have any questions?
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from council members? Certainly. Councilmember Luna, do you have a question?
Just a comment,
Sure.
Roland. I know that, many of us went to San Benito High School. We are proud Baylors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you even thought of actually doing a box for the Hollister Baylors.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that is very meaningful
Yeah.
to many of us
Sure.
that were raised in this community. And also the question is, the 4,000, is that a one-time
Yes.
request?
Yes.
Okay. That
So-
was my question.
If I can address that, we've had people after the fact tell us, just like the Planning Commission, they've given suggestions and stuff, and those are all valid points that we definitely will carry over to phase 2 of the project. And like I said, we're going to pair a local muralist with a business, and we'll definitely make sure that we get your vision out there, as well as the Planning Commission. They had some suggestions as well. So.
Just to add, I have seen them. I was recently in New York.
Yeah.
By Wall Street, where the bull is,
Oh.
and I could see some of the boxes and area in that financial district, and it was very colorful
Yeah.
to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Roland, you're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for doing this, seriously, because you took it up. I mean, this was your issue. You were going back and forth with a few of us on Facebook and trying to push this. And Ms. Lane, thank you for your support and your involvement with the Arts Council. That's also very important. I like the tweet and I like the picture. I would like to see one of just Bob alone on the bike. That would be pretty neat. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for your leadership on this. There's rarely anywhere in the city of San Jose through the Office of Cultural Affairs that we don't have boxes, with murals painted. I mean, this was started years ago over there. Now it's just a common practice. It just doesn't, you don't have to fight the community for it. They know the need, they understand the need. You showed us pictures of ugly steel, sheet metal boxes. So we appreciate it. The mayor may have some financial interest because I think it may enhance the vault as well. So,
So I can't vote on this?
sorry. I'm kidding. It's not your property. But I think it's great for the community. It's a great way for, artistic people are not necessarily known to be compensated for their work. Yeah. So to do this, I'm very supportive in understanding that people want to volunteer for this, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I think people should also be compensated for their work.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful. I love everything that you presented here today, and I hope that this is exactly what you said. It's a pilot, because I want to see this happen throughout the whole city. So, thank you very much.
Councilmember Friend?
Well, Roland, you and I met quite a while ago when I was going through all my battles, getting the mural out on the end of Monterey Street. And I told you then I thought this was a great idea, and I really am impressed at the way you've used the local history to make those boxes to where somebody doesn't want to paint over it, because it does tell a story, and I think that's really important. I think that's going to be a great addition. And I think the idea of going further after the pilot is done with the local businesses that the boxes are close to probably would be the best way to get the community involved. and help sponsor that. I think that's a good idea too, so. I think it's I'm surprised, I told you then, I didn't think it was gonna go very far, but I'm surprised you got it this far, so that's
We
good.
worked pretty hard on it, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's good.
Councilmember Clower?
I guess my first question is, the artist fees, that based off of what Gilroy's paying at this
Yeah.
point?
Exact replica, yeah. So 200 would be for the priming and prepping, 600 would be for the artists, but we didn't take out account, did we include supplies? So basically, each artist is gonna have to take out of their own money and get their own supplies and whatnot. So we're gonna try to find ways to work around that and get as much volunteers as we can, but we do wanna get paid professional artists on staff to help make the work look very pristine and professional.
Yeah, I think this is a great start, and I look forward to seeing the local community kind of jump in and take this even further. So hopefully that's what we'll see.
Thank you.
Well, I have to say, I'm very proud of you and the Arts Commission for following through. We had these conversations. A lot of times we have conversations with the community about doing projects and we never hear back. In your case, we heard back from you every single day. And the ideas you came up with, as Councilmember Friend pointed out, Councilmember Gomez, they reflect our community just perfectly. And I'm going to be very proud. I'm just kind of upset that my building gets bobbed. But I tell you what, I want to sign up for the next box. So I'll be the sponsor of the next ones that come through. And I'm very proud of you guys.
Thank you.
For bringing the arts back. We know it's important to our community. It's a reflection of all of us, so very excited.
Thank you.
Speaker cards?
Marty Richmond.
Good evening again, Marty Richmond from Hollister. I'm in support of this program. Anything that will differentiate us and beautify the downtown area is going to get my support for sure. I don't want to go into all the technical details, but there are a number of companies that are currently working very hard on special anti-graffiti coverings that you can put over things like these murals that will not take paint and can be rinsed off. I don't know if they have that in their budget. I understand they've got a set number of dollars they're asking for. Of course, to be a good artist, you have to be a starving artist. Everybody knows that, right? But seriously, I hope they look into that. Maybe we can get a few companies to volunteer their materials so that they would have something to then essentially as a test thing. If not, I hope they do come back if it's not in the budget and add that to the budget at some time in the future, because I would hate to see some people who are not appreciative of anybody doing anything nice. There are people like that who go in then and maul the murals. So I am in support of it, but I would like to see it given some permanence and some protection, and the only way to reasonably do that with a box is to paint it with some of this transparent anti-graffiti materials that are specially made with plastics that just, you try to spray paint on it, just runs it off. So I know 3M, and there's several other companies. I don't have any stock in 3M, so I'm not advertising them. But there are 3M and some other companies produce that. So I am support of this. I think it'll be a nice addition to downtown and a nice differentiation between us and just every other town you drive through. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friend, you had another comment?
I just have a question, Roland,
Sure.
and it's a concern. I know that when the utilities put those boxes in, when they paint those boxes, they use pretty nasty stuff on those boxes because they're trying to protect those boxes from rust and whatever. And I'm hoping that when you go to sand and clean those boxes, you're aware of the zinc chromate and stuff that's in those boxes and on those paint. Could be pretty nasty, so
Just to
please be
address both
cautious
those.
when
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
doing that.
To address his comment as well as yours, first of all, thank you for bringing that up. That's an excellent point. We do have money allocated to actually seal it with a special sealant, like he said, that if anybody tries to graffiti over it, the city of Hollister just has to wipe it off, and it comes right off in order to protect the art and keep it here as long as we can. Number two, we're not planning on sanding it down or going to that extent. We're just going to simply clean it with a good old sponge washing, and that's what typically the other programs have done, and prime it with a primer. And then from that point on, the artist will start sketching and building onto it. And yes, we do have money allocated to put a special sealant on it that's just been modeled in every other city that's done this as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other speakers? All right. Is there another question?
I was gonna make a motion.
All right. Feel free to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 2014-220.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item F2.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things before we get started. Staff is going to be recommending that this item be continued until January 20th. Is that correct, Jerry? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
The day after Martin Luther King Day. I just wanted to give a brief update. Is the HDA and the City of Hollister is continuing to negotiate sort of the basic terms of the agreement. We're not miles apart. We're very close. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we will be having a rally next year. But what we're talking about now is actually going back to a 3-day event and some of the other things. So we wanted to make sure that we ironed all of that stuff out before we move forward with a contract for your execution. So again, we're working towards the 2015 event. We're changing some of the terms a little bit between our council and their council, and we'll bring that back as soon as possible, which will likely be the 20th.
Thank you very much. So we need a motion to table to
Motion to continue till January 20th, 2015.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward with item F3.
Thank you, Mayor. If you'll recall, I brought this item to you at your last meeting to execute or develop an agreement for impact fees as it related to both the Vista del Oro project and the Marriott project that is going to be located on Gateway Drive. We have finalized sort of the deferred agreement with Lotus Property Management, who is doing the hotel on Gateway Drive. Instead of the difference that I probably proposed to you last time is that it would be a loan program where there would be a monthly payment at the time the building was completed. What you have in front of you now is similar to a product that was, or a program that is done in a couple of cities. One is basically in Washington. It's kind of where we got this model from. It's a deferment period for 24 months. Lotus Property Management was okay with that. So what will happen is that 24 months after the date of opening, the impact fees will be deferred until that time. If the property sells or if the property is refinanced, the city will execute a beneficiary demand and we will be paid those impact fees at that time. And also, as far as the amount due and payable, as you'll notice in the agreement, we have our current impact fees as Exhibit A, but what they will be paying is the impact fees at the time that they are due. Every July 1st, the engineering department does a calculation based on the engineering news record or the A&R cost index or construction cost index, so they will be paying those fees at the time that the impact fee is actually due, so whatever rate that is at that time. So my understanding is that, like I said, the building department, the plans are all approved, ready to go. They need to probably pull those that permit by the end of this month. I will let you know the first part of next month if that in fact has been done, and we would expect to see construction begin as soon as we feel comfortable with the rains. So with that, staff recommends adopting the resolution that is in front of you, 2014-222.
Okay, are there any questions from council?
Question. And this is a 2-year delay, right?
Yes.
24 months,
24
not
months.
48.
No, 24 months.
Okay.
Oh, the 48 months is that in the event that they take forever to build it, we would get paid at that point too. It's not likely to happen, but I just wanted to have some sort of end period as it related to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you have a speaker card?
Marty Richmond.
spoke on this, Marty Richmond, I spoke on this issue last time it came up. I just want to say, but the circumstances were different. We were discussing very long-term loans and so on and so forth, which I didn't like because it doesn't take that long to get that business up and running, but I didn't like either demanding the impact fees on the day they open because it does take some time to get the business running. I think 24 months is a perfectly reasonable amount of time because people have to understand that a motel or a new hotel, motel is here. They have to get the word out. They have to go there and tell their friends. And so it takes a year or two for them to get hopping and to get their occupancy rates up. And therefore, and since this is secured by real property, which would be a hotel, a multi-room hotel, it's probably worth a lot of money. It's well secured, and therefore I support this. I think 24 months is perfectly reasonable. And it's a good way to bring a business to town. And I also support the other portion that was brought up by the city manager concerning the housing development of not collecting the fees until they're actually occupied, not just sitting there waiting to try and find somebody to live there, because there is very little impact. There's no water flowing, there's no traffic, there's no kids going to school. There essentially is no impact until somebody moves in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers? Okay.
Motion to approve Resolution 2014-222.
Second.
Who called the second? Councilmember Clower? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, 5-0 vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the work you've been doing on that project. Move forward with item G1, report from council member committees. Councilmember Gomez?
I didn't have any committee meetings.
Councilmember Friend?
Yeah, I got a real quick one on a couple committees. We had our meeting with the fire committee. Was a real short meeting with an update on the third fire station. And things are going very well with that. The property is there. All the engineering is being done. And I think that's moving along. I think we talked about February, March, looking at that being complete. Then the second one I had was with the the county intergovernmental committee, and we talked about various things during the on the agenda, including the fire station update, which was going very well. The county and the city addressing issues about emergency response, and I know we have a group working on that. San Benito High School bond issue, that person didn't show up, so we didn't get a report on what they're gonna do with that yet. He had other deals, and he said he will be at the next meeting and bring us up to speed. And then the emergency procedure structure was discussed to bring in the school districts and stuff, and I know the chief was there to hear what was going on with that. So that's basically all.
Okay. You covered my committee, so thank you very much.
Anytime.
Move forward to item G2, informational reports. Councilmember Luna? Do you have anything you want to
Yes, thank you,
report for the public?
Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to report that on Saturday, I was invited to attend a neighborhood community event. It was held on the west side of Hollister, Villahermosa area. And it was just a very beautiful event to see people come together and enjoy music, food, the children all dressed up, doing dances for their parents. Some of the people didn't know each other, but you know what? It was a neighborhood community event that brought people together. And I didn't know most of them, but it was nice just to be there with the family that had invited my husband and I, and we were there, and it was just a beautiful event, and I just hope that this continues because it just brings people together in a festive mood. I mean, the holidays, the children that were there, it was just amazing. So, I really want to thank Mrs. Maria Lezama, who has worked so hard these past years in putting together a neighborhood event. She's the one that brings people together. And it's just a fine example of what every neighborhood in this city could be. So I really want to extend a thank you to her, her family, and I just feel that it was a great event for just people to come together and be happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to congratulate Carson Clower, Councilmember Clower, sorry, on his election and obviously being sworn in tonight. I've known Carson for many years when he was Mr. All-Star football player back with the Baylors. And anyway, Carson, congratulations, and we're happy to have you on board. Not sure, and I'm not going to ask how old you are. I was elected when I was 29, and I'm sure you beat me.
He beat
and
you.
I hold nothing against you. So, congratulations. I also want to take the time and congratulate my buddy. I don't think he's here tonight. On occasion, does attend, but I want to congratulate my friend David Huboy on being presented as San Benito County Chamber of Commerce Man of the Year. David is a good friend of mine, and he's a buddy. He was my opponent 6 years ago when I was running for council, and I forgive him as well for what he tried to do to me. But David's he's a good guy. He's a happy guy, always in a good mood, and I'm not surprised at all that he won Man of the Year. So, David, if you're listening, congratulations. Also, just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate. Hope you have a good time with your family and loved ones, and if you are traveling, travel safely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friend?
Well, I just have, just to follow up on Victor's statement, this is our last meeting this year, and I wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and hope you all get a chance to get together with families, eat too much, spend too much, enjoy yourselves. Have a great new year. 2015 is going to be great. To anybody I upset this year, get over it. I'll be back next year. Other than that, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Councilmember Clower?
Yeah, first I'd like to thank the council and the city as a whole for the hospitality, and I'm really excited to be on board here, and hopefully we'll accomplish a lot of things in the next few years. I'd also like to thank Jerry for all her help, as well as Christine, and just wish everybody happy holidays. Drive safely. If you need a ride, call a cab or your friend or your mom. They'll pick you up. Just be safe. Be safe the next couple weeks, and we'll see you in January.
Thank you. Wanted to talk about a few events I attended this last week. First one was the community Christmas concert held at the high school, and we were talking about the arts earlier. It is incredible to see the talent we have in the community. You know, group after group, young student after student came through and really performed as if they were professional. Actually, I videotaped a few of them. They're on Facebook on what's happening in Hollister. If you see those, you'd understand what I'm talking about. These are professionals now, and no doubt they will go on to fame and fortune, and hopefully they don't forget about us in the future. Also, I attended the Homeless Christmas Luncheon organized by Linda and Pat Lampy, and I want to thank them for all they did. And it was, I would say, it's about 60 people showed up there. So all those that helped by buying tickets, very much appreciated. And thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everyone. City Manager.
I don't really have anything other than to wish
Okay,
everybody.
City Attorney, no.
Happy holidays.
Bill, did you have something to say or no? Chief.
Yeah, this week, you'll see HPD and Owls Collision Center and Hollister Gives Back delivering some special gifts to some special kids all over the community. It's something I kind of kept secret for a while because I wanted it to be a surprise. So it's something that it's been kind of a grassroots effort where we've been able to collect a lot of really cool items for some kids that really need it. And we're also sponsoring a family for Christmas, so I'm pretty happy about that. Want to wish everybody a safe and happy holidays. Spend a lot of time with your families, and hopefully you'll have a safe and wonderful time in our city here. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk.
Thank you. I just need to report pursuant to AB 1234 that Christine and I attended the city clerk's new law and election seminar. As always, it was good, very informative. Wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and as Bill mentioned earlier, the next meeting will be January 20th because the city council already adopted a resolution canceling the first meeting in January.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot to mention also, this weekend, the National Commander for the American Legion was here to visit our Veterans Building. Chief was there, Councilmember Friend was there, also our State Commander. So they were very impressed with what we have here, and it was good to see that they came to visit us here. We're going to move on to...
Can I digress for just a second?
Yes,
And
you can.
congratulate the varsity football team for winning CCS again this year, since Carson was a former quarterback.
Flower, that was your...
And
deal
our
there.
council, our legal counsel here is also a coach at the high school as well. So congratulations to all of those kids.
Thank you very much. Item G3, the appointments for 2015. Are you ready?
I am.
Council of Governments, Victor Gomez, and myself.
And an
Let-
alternate?
I did not put that on there. Mickey Luna expressed interest in being involved as alternate. LAFCO, I'll appoint myself on there, and Ray Friend is the alternate.
Okay, this is, yeah, this, okay.
Intergovernmental, be myself and Ray Friend.
And an alternate?
I'll choose Councilmember Clower. Fire Protection, myself and Councilmember Friend. AMBAG, I will continue with,
Alternate?
and Councilmember Friend is the alternate.
Thank you.
California Council of Criminal Justice, Councilmember Luna.
And you'll continue as the alternate?
I will continue as the alternate.
Thank you.
The CEDS Committee, I will stay on that committee. Governance Committee, Councilmember Luna and Councilmember Clower. I will continue as the alternate. Water Resource, Councilmember Friend and Councilmember Clower as the alternate. The Pajaro River, Councilmember Luna. Solid Waste Committee, Councilmember Friend and Councilmember Gomez. Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee, Councilmember Gomez and Councilmember Friend. Department Liaisons, Administration, Councilmember Gomez. Police, Councilmember Friend. Fire, myself. Community Services, Councilmember Luna. Development Services, Councilmember Clower. Finance, myself. Motorcycle Event, Councilmember Friend. San Benito County Waste Management, Councilmember Clower. Councilmember Friend is the alternate. Monterey Bay Air Pollution Control District, Councilmember Luna as the alternate. Revenue Subcommittee will stay the same, Councilmember Friend and myself. Successor Agency for the RDA, Councilmember Gomez. Gang Prevention Committee, Councilmember Luna and Councilmember Friend. Myself as the alternate. Seminole County Courthouse,
You know, that could probably be deleted now since
Okay.
it's completed.
Oversight Committee for the Redevelopment Agency, Councilmember Gomez.
Okay.
And the Area Agency on Aging, Councilmember Luna. That would be it. Do we need a motion on?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'm sorry, who made that?
Councilmember Gomez made
Thank
the
you.
motion.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Friend, second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward to item G4.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize for bringing this to you rather late. As you are very well aware, the City of Hollister offered a voluntary separation incentive program, which several members of the City of Hollister took advantage of. One of the components of putting together that program was losing some key members of staff, and those members are the kind of the executive management group, or the people that are in charge of various departments. What I would like to do is just sort of get a consensus to allow Brett and myself to seek out executive management search firms to go through the recruitment process for a few key positions. One is the city clerk's. One is the city clerk, the fire chief, the development services director, which was my former position, and then also as maybe a kind of a one that we might throw in there at the end is we recently did a interview process for the human resource manager, which is another key component of this organization. We have some very qualified candidates, but I want to make sure that we are completely satisfied with that individual. Brett will be going through probably the second interviews next week, and depending on how that turns out, we may actually include that if we're not finding the right fit. So what I'd like to do is, again, just try to get a head bob on going down that path of consensus. We probably can get a much better deal packaging those positions together in one rather than going out and seeking those four. As you know, we went out for the development services director in the past. That did not come, that nobody really shined as far as I was concerned. So we're going to go through that process. And if that's okay with you, that's the direction that I'd like to get.
Okay. Is there a consensus from council? Yes?
Okay.
Keep moving forward on that.
Yes, so I will bring back, we'll try to get those bids together as quickly as possible over the holidays, and I will bring back a professional services contract to you on January 20th.
All right, thank you very much. HIJK, there's no business.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out tonight.